Hello and welcome to Riverview Junior School's StoryVault video. Today I'll be interviewing Jackie Thompson about what it was like for women in the workplace during the 70s and 80s. Mrs Thompson, please can you tell us about your education and work history?
Okay, I'll start with education. I went to a state primary school and secondary school in South East London. I left in 1971 with 1 O-level, not my finest hour. I then went directly to work from there. I decided that I actually wanted to get more out of education, so over the years I did some O-levels, some A-levels. I studied management. And by the time I was 50, which is quite a long way, I'd actually taken a master's degree from Southampton University. In terms of work, I worked for over 45 years. I started in the civil service in the Ministry of Defence. Then I went into an American bank, and then I managed charities across northwest Kent until I retired when I was 60.
Okay. During the 70s, there was a real increase in women going to work. What do you think caused this change?
I think there was a certain change in how women were thought of. Certainly there was a very strong movement coming from the UK and the United States called the Women's Liberation Movement. It was very strong at the end of the 60s and 70s, and they were campaigning for equal pay for women, for equal education and job opportunities, and free nurseries to allow women to work. So there was a sort of a change coming from women themselves, who became quite active in that. This reflected in the law of the time. In the 70s there was a change to the law, the Equal Pay Act came to pass, and the Sex Discrimination Act, which actually barred people being discriminated on the grounds of their sex, which seems strange now because you wouldn't even think that that would happen, but it was happening then. And so that was the kind of main and I think there was a movement within society that women should be treated more equally. So I think it was all of those things coming together.
Okay. What was it like for women going in male-dominated workplaces? Yeah,
if I talk about the bank, because that was the most obvious one. If you think of banking as, when you used to see them on the black and white screens, they would be men, they would have bowler hats, they'd have a brolly, and they'd be walking across London Bridge to work at the Bank of England and such things. So it was always seen as a very male-dominated profession. When I actually joined there, that was still the case, even in an American bank. All of the senior roles and directors were male. There were a few very junior role managers that were managing things like the typing pool. The typing pool used to be a place where it was all women. It tended to be in big offices, all women typing away, either copy typing from paper or audio typing through a machine, and that's what they would do. That was how things were then. So there wasn't any role models to actually see women being promoted, because they didn't exist at that time. I think there was a change even while I was there. There used to be some women that were getting promoted, but they were from private schools. They were from the top universities: Oxford, Cambridge, London, Edinburgh. So they were starting to come through the ranks, but there wasn't any women, like me, if you like, that I actually saw there from my background.
Did you ever experience any harassment or discrimination?
Not so much harassment, although I think it was probably going on, and certainly I challenged it on behalf of a few of my colleagues, but not for myself, but certainly in terms of discrimination. When I tried for promotion a couple of times, one of the times he said that I didn't have the right educational and social background. Another time I was actually engaged to be married. He questioned me on that when I was planning to get married, when I was planning to have children. because he said he was looking for somebody that would be committed to the department and to the bank. When I left the bank to have children, at that point you weren't even allowed to go back unless you went back full time. So that actually stopped a lot of women going back, because it's one thing perhaps you see nowadays. I mean, some people do go back full time, but some go back 2 or 3 days because it's easier with a child to manage that. At that point, it was all or nothing. It was full time, or you didn't come back. So I think that, well, I know that's changed because there's now law that you can ask for flexible working, but at that time that didn't happen, and that discriminated, I think, indirectly against women, because they would be the ones that wouldn't be able to come back.
Were you ever promoted, and what was the reaction from colleagues?
Well, it was very supportive actually, because by the time I got promoted to assistant manager, which was kind of a big thing at the time, to go from a very junior role at 17 to an assistant manager for somebody from my background, and it was tremendously supportive. Friends and colleagues, obviously, as you would expect, but also from people I didn't even know, actually rang and just said it's just so great to see someone like us actually being promoted. So, I mean, that's how much of a surprise at the time it was, because people actually just rang me out of the blue to say that. So, I mean, that was lovely.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, for allowing me to interview you today. Thank you for watching Riverview Junior's school StoryVault video.